I just figured with the Donald Trump celebration taking the nation in college football and NFL and soccer, I thought the Minnesota Tim podcast would join it. So for those YouTube watchers, that's what that was. I don't know if anyone has noticed that, but wow, I just watched a video this morning showing athletes celebrating after touchdowns, after catches, after goals, doing the Donald Trump celebration. So it's hilarious because a guy that no one really wanted to say publicly that they were supporting, everyone basically is right now. So it's sweeping the nation. But the Minnesota Vikings defeated the Tennessee Titans 23-13. And something that needs to be addressed following this victory is just how much help the Minnesota Vikings received from NFL officiating. That's a story that no one really wants to talk about because Minnesota Vikings fans love to see themselves as the victim of officiating. Let me clear the deck. It's not just Minnesota Vikings fans. Fans in every single sport love to see themselves as the victim of officiating. Whether that be the NBA and the Minnesota Timberwolves, oh, the NBA is rigged. Whether that be the NFL and the Minnesota Vikings or any other NFL franchise, everything is always rigged. It's never a self-responsibility to play better. It's never a look at yourselves, we need to execute better. It's never, oh, we need to block better, we need to throw better, we need to do that. It always boils down to the officiating. For every team and every sport, and Minnesota Vikings fans are none better because, oh, did you see that hold? Oh, the NFL's rigged. Oh, did you see that face mask on Sam Darnold? The NFL's rigged. Roger Goodell hates our team. And then you look at the team stats in the Vikings-Titans matchup. Penalties. Minnesota Vikings, 3 penalties for 35 yards. The Tennessee Titans, 13 penalties for 91 yards. And all of a sudden, following the Vikings game, during the Vikings game even, do you know what I heard? I heard a whole lot of nothing. That's what I heard. I heard crickets. No one went to social media, to their X account, and talked about just how much of a break the Minnesota Vikings were receiving during this game when every single 50-50 call went the Minnesota Vikings direction. The biggest one was the Jordan Addison hit that number 44 of the Tennessee Titans laid on him on 4th and goal in the Minnesota Vikings red zone. The score is 3-0 at that point. And it was 4th down. Darnold found a tight window, found Addison, got clobbered. And my first reaction was throw the flag because of the impact of the hit. But when you slow it down, and of course that's replay, right? When you slow it down, but the NFL official is standing right there. In a TV, when the camera is moving, boom, boom, it's a little different. But when an official is looking at the play and can see it happening right in front of him, he has a little better vantage point than we do on TV. And at least live, that is. Replay, we have the better vantage point. Like instant replay, you slow that thing down. And that was not an illegal, unnecessary hit by number 44 from the Tennessee Titans. Gave the Minnesota Vikings an automatic first down, and the Vikings won the football game. And it wasn't just me that thought that was a clean hit. Social media was going wild because Jordan Addison received the benefit of the doubt in a controversial call that went the Vikings' direction. So, is the NFL rigged towards the Minnesota Vikings? No one's going to admit that. But that's how it looked in this game. If we are being fair and transparent and looking at things the entire direction. And the other call, Justin Jefferson being held down the field, 3rd and 11. The Minnesota Vikings get sacked, have to punt, only up 16-10 at this point after Levis's 98-yard bomb. And Justin Jefferson didn't sell it. Justin Jefferson didn't, flail his arms, look to the official for a flag, which wide receivers do on every single play if they feel like they're being held unfairly, or if they feel like they're being grabbed, or whatever the case may be. And the official threw the flag, gave the Minnesota Vikings a free first down. Later in that drive, the Minnesota Vikings, led by Sam Darnold, threw a touchdown pass to Cam Akers. So you think about the breaks the Minnesota Vikings got in this game, and there were several. The ones I just talked about were 14-point swings. But what do I hear? I hear crickets. I don't hear anything about the NFL being rigged against the Minnesota Vikings or for the Minnesota Vikings. But there is no doubt that the Vikings were the receivers of many breaks in this football game that came from the officiating side of the ball. What I talked about was 14 points. The Vikings won by 10, 23-13. There is no doubt that this is a different ball game if the official doesn't throw the flag on the hit on Addison, or if the official doesn't throw the flag on the Justin Jefferson illegal contact down the field. And when you look at those two plays in particular, the second one, the Vikings were up 16-10. They would have had to punt the ball to the Titans, and they would have had an opportunity to take the lead at that point in the game. They didn't get one because the officials took control of the game. And that's another thing. We always talk about, we just got to let the players play when the officials go against you. But what about when the officials are for you? What about when you get the breaks of all the flags? Are you still wanting to let them play? Absolutely not. It's a hypocritical statement when you say something like that. Did you really just want the officials to let them play when they laid the hit on Addison? No. Did you really want the officials to let them play when they illegally held Justin Jefferson down the field when they really didn't? No. So it's a hypocritical statement. You want the officials to let your team play when they're calling flags on your team, but when they're calling flags on the opposing team, you have no problem with it. Free first downs. Wow, this game's a whole lot easier, isn't it? So that's just one of my big talking points that I wanted to address, because people see officiating down a one-way rabbit hole. And I don't know, I just get sick of it. I see officiating as a rare cause for a loss for a team. Even the Sam Darnold face mask against the Rams, that should have been called. I don't see that as the officiating causing the Vikings to lose. I saw that as Sam Darnold holding it onto the ball too long and allowing the officials to miss a call. Did they miss a call? Yes. Was it a terrible missed call? Yes. Were there two officials looking at the call? Yes. Is there a problem with that? Yes. But the Vikings put the officials in that position to miss a call. So I put it more on the Minnesota Vikings than I did the officials. So, there's situations where I'm sure in the future I'll wow, that was a terrible call. But you can always point back to players, to play calls, to coaching, to execution. Typically, when a team loses. So you look at this game against the Titans, the Vikings were the better football team. They would have won regardless of those two calls. But those two calls sure helped give a little more cushion to the Vikings in this game. They won by 10. You're probably looking at a one-score game easily. Maybe a field goal game. If the Minnesota Vikings were not the benefactors of those two massive calls. The Titans were not as good executing as the Minnesota Vikings were. However, the officials sure helped and gave the Minnesota Vikings a lot of help. Thank you for watching. And if you're feeling down in diggity, you know what you can do?